Welcome, investigator. Evil is on the rise. Crime is escalating. Our mission is to eliminate the crime by exposing evil, examine why it manifests, and highlight the brave souls that confront it every day. Join us as we work together to bring justice to every victim. Welcome to All Things Crime. Here's your host, Jared Bradley.
Hey guys, it's Jared. Welcome to episode 3 of my conversation with Congressman Burgess Owens. Man, what a fantastic man. And I just absolutely love that he is my representative in Congress and all the things that he personally represents, as well as what he does as our congressman. So enjoy this. Burgess, Congressman Owens, it's such a pleasure.
Jared, my pleasure, buddy. And looking forward to chatting with this and a little bit about travels deep South. I mean, not South America, but I mean, South America, actually. But I look forward to chatting about that also a little bit.
Yeah, boy, it's I was kind of earlier in the episode, I was actually bringing kind of the audience up to speed on our relationship and how we met actually in the airport a number of years ago, and then working on your campaign.
Yeah.
But can you believe it's been 15, 16 months since we were went down to Panama together? And what a fantastic trip that was, and it's such an eye-opening experience. So any thoughts on Panama, now that it's been a little while? You've had,
Jared,
a lot of time.
What I've been able to think about since we were there 15 months ago, kind of seeing the impact that this trafficking did on this small little village of good people, indigenous Indians, that were actually had a very idyllic type of life. They raised their food. Their kids would, they loved jumping in the river and just kind of an easy life and very family oriented. And to see how that was changing overnight with this unbelievable invasion. I'm gonna call that word an invasion into this small community that they had no control of. And so I've reflected on that. And I reflected on what they were asking for. They wanted to help. They had good hearts, but their biggest issue was they didn't have resources. It was overwhelming them in so many different ways. And we didn't have really the answers. The government didn't have the answers because, again, that was just a little bit of an idea of what's going to happen to that country of Panama, and now what's happening to our country today, 15 months later. So it's interesting to see that it was very easy to predict what was happening down there and what's going to happen in this country. And it's sad to say that, I'll say this to your listeners, just know that this chaos is on purpose. Don't ever think it's because they don't understand, they're just too unbelievably willing to think. No, this process is going on, the chaos is on purpose, and we need to make sure we hold these people accountable when the time comes.
Yeah, boy, the interesting thing that I thought about the Darien Gap is it's so indicative that people, you got to wonder what some of these, and I'd love to just sit down with some of these people and say, what was it when you were sitting in your home country, wherever that would have been, whether it didn't matter. I mean, we saw people from all over the world just in the one day that we were there. And you have to wonder, what is it that would trigger them to say, yep, let's go? And where they say, whatever pain they were experiencing, I can't imagine they actually understood the journey that was ahead of them.
No.
And just going through the gap, and the most of the women are raped, almost everyone is robbed, and yet they come from whatever hardships they have to go through in order to make it to the United States. It's like, what are they in their minds being promised?
Well, what it is, Jared, is that we have to kind of recognize what the magnet of America really is. And it's not just this group of people. This has been the history of our nation. People pay unbelievable prices because they have this dream, the dream of freedom, the dream of raising their kids and maybe one day maybe to buy a car and buy a home. I mean, all the things that we offer as a magnet, which is a society that believes in dreaming big. And people around the world see that, and particularly when you're in a country that's oppressive, that you know there's limitations, that you can't protect your kids. I mean, we get it. There's a lot of misery and pain across the country. The sad part is that knowing that this attraction is there, we should never, as the country cares about these people, allow them to think that they can come here without a price. And we know that price. I mean, we're talking about it. We're at the border. We know about these situations where literally tens of thousands of women and girls are raped in this last year. And the cartel's bragging about it. And we have an administration that says it doesn't exist. So we can't really blame those who've been drawn here. We have a president and administration that says it's easy. Just go up, step across the border, and we'll take care of the rest. We'll give you a plane ticket. We'll give you we'll give you wherever you need. We'll give you school for your kids one day. But all it's the things, the price that need to be paid that many people don't realize until it's too late. And once you start that trek, you're halfway into the gap that we were familiar with, and all of a sudden you can't walk anymore. It's too late to say, "Whoops, I'm sorry, I didn't know this was going to happen. I need to get out of here." You got to either continue forward or die, and too many people are dying along the way. I'll just say this: I blame the Biden administration. I blame the hard left, the godless hard left, who doesn't really care about the pain and misery people go through. They care for two things: profitability and power, period. That's it. And it doesn't matter who has to pay the price to them to get their profitability and power. They're willing to sacrifice anyone and everyone. And our country's waking up, by the way. And I think there's gonna be a price to be paid as this is uncovered, as truth always is. At the end of the day, we're gonna look back on these times, recognize how much damage was done to these children, these precious children that some will never be the same. To these women, some will never be the same. To those who never made the trip, for families who will never see each other again. We will recognize there was an administration that did this on purpose because they cared more about power than they care about lives of people. And it's a disaster, it's a tragedy, and it's so un-American. I can't even express how un-American this is, what's happening to these people.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I just heard an interview, I want to say this morning, by, can't even remember what show it's on, but it was one of those candidates for Arizona senator. And he was saying that he'd been down to the border, dozens of times. And he said this latest trip that he made, he actually saw some of the guys that they caught were these basically Russian military. He said, these are all clean cut guys, clearly military guys, and coming across the border. And, you wonder, of all the tens of thousands of people that are coming across our border, how many of them have, like you said, many of these women have been raped, and the cartels are actually, I heard Sarah Carter say that they make them like rape trees, where they'll hang the underwear and things from their rape victims on these trees just to taunt the border patrol. And so you have just untold tragedy happening with women and children. But then you have men, and you look into these pictures of these caravans that are coming across. These are all fighting age young men, single men. That these guys, they should be back in their own country, helping develop and improve their own country. But instead, they're all coming here.
Yeah, and let me just say something about that process. Well, first, two things. Those of us who grew up learning our history, George Washington, the Revolutionary War, we understood a general named Benedict Arnold. Benedict Arnold. He was a traitor. He was somebody who was trusted by the American people. Yet he was willing to turn in his friendships, what he saw, the struggle and the sacrifice of people that he oversaw. He was willing to turn their backs on them. That's who we have today. We have Benedict Arnolds that are running this country that understand the same thing you and I just talked about. Listen, we don't have to be in the military to know when you see that many young men, single young men, coming to this country, it says a couple things. First of all, why are they leaving their country, their wives, their daughters, their people? If you have any concept of love for country and wanting to build something, you don't leave. You don't turn your back on your own people. So that's one thing. What kind of people, what kind of men are we bringing to this country that have no idea of loyalty or dedication or commitment to anything but themselves? And then the other part of it is how many of these people come here with ill intent, that hate who we are, and that we will find that we'll pay the price as we see American deaths continue to rise from murder rates or attacks from those who just hate us. So those are things we're going to end up seeing. And it's sad to say that, unfortunately, we're going to pay a price because already there's, I think, 2 million illegals that have been caught, that have been come across and turned themselves in. What about the other 500,000, 1 million people? We have no idea who they are. By the way, there's 130 countries that we saw a listing of when you and I were down there. It might be probably more now because countries are realizing, hey, why not go to America? Let's go the route. Let's gear up. Let's train. Let's go to Darien Gap, and we're in America. That's all you got to do. So it is a travesty, and I hope Americans. And by the way, this conversation is not on one side or out or other. I'm talking to all my friends out there who love our country, Democrats, independents, Republicans, those of us who want our country to have a great future, our kids to be raised in a way they can thrive. We need to have this conversation together, my friends. We cannot pick teams and say, I'm going to be part of this team no matter what, when our country is being destroyed from within. There is an ideology that hates all of us. It doesn't matter what party. They hate those of us who love our country. They're called Marxists and socialists. They hate us. And they hate, you can see that by the policies and by what they allow to happen to our country and the pain that they allow to come through.
100%. As a veteran, I see what's happening, and just knowing what I served for, I never had to go to a war zone, and I was really blessed in that aspect. But all the guys that I know, Chuck Holton, for example, he may live in Panama most of the time, or West Virginia most, some of the other time, but regardless, he is 100% American. And I know it just makes him sick. And all the other veterans that I know were like, I can't believe this is happening to our country. I mean, the number of dangerous people that are, you figure 9/11, that was only, there were probably a lot of people that were behind it, coming from it. But technically, all that, I mean, I don't know how many billions and billions of dollars in damage to our economy were caused by 19 guys that figured out flying some airplanes into some buildings would be a fairly economical and fairly easy way on their part to really put a huge amount of damage on our country. And if we have even 1% of the guys that are coming across our border, even if they're not bringing fentanyl or other kind of drugs, if, like you said, if they just have ill intent for this country, that's a lot of really, really bad people that we're just letting flow right across the country.
Well, one of the things about our country, and I appreciate a part of this, is that we kind of, because we dream, because we work hard, because we expect fairness, we feel that we put our effort in there, we sacrifice, good things will come back. And we live in that kind of society. So we're able to, because of that, kind of live in this freedom bubble. We wake up every single day kind of taking certain things for granted, that soldiers like yourself will be out there doing your part, loving our country, and gives us a safety here to do our part, build businesses, build our community, build our families. And so that's been that connection, that trust that we've had, that because of our society, we can expect certain results just by moving forward and doing the right things. And every now and then we need to have some contrast to wake up. 9/11 was a contrast day for us. Pearl Harbor was a contrast day for us. We wake up one day and say, where did this come from? I had no idea. And sadly, we've had a society in which we've been progressively moving toward the left, because that's what the leftists do. They hide behind our institutions and they give us this, they drift our kids into a certain way. And it might just be that this is what we need for our kids who've been indoctrinated, for those who've gone through the last couple of decades, been indoctrinated, to wake up and feel like, no, we're all at risk. It doesn't matter whether you have a R or D in your name. They hate all of us, and they will do harm for all of us. And that we need to come together, because if we don't, we'll wake up one day and just like those who find themselves in the middle of Darien Gap and said, I had no idea. If only I'd known, I would have prepared different. I would have looked at this differently. I wouldn't have come this way. And that's where we're going to find ourselves. I think as we come through these next few months and years, we have an administration who care less about our American way, because he does not understand our American way. They're fighting against our American way. And we're going to have to pay a price. Unfortunately, we're seeing it in prices, inflation, which is a dream stealer, gas. We're seeing crime in every place you can go. And we're literally knocking on the door of recession. And Jared, you and I are a little bit, we can remember a little bit. I think you might have remembered a little bit possibly of the recession. I did. And it's something that is hard to describe when you wake up every day and you just don't have the means to pursue your dreams. You don't have the job. Those right now who kind of take for granted jobs are going to be out there. You've been hopping back and forth. Well, just get ready, my friends. If recession comes, that won't be an option. You'll be so happy to have a job, period. And that's not where we want to be. We want to be on the other end of that. So just know that we're going to be going through some tough times. Let's make a decision instead of being angry, destroying the way the left does. Let's do it the other way. Let's respectfully agree to disagree on things we don't agree on, but let's start finding solutions together that we can move our country forward and get back to normal.
Oh, amen. And one of the things that I think has to happen in order for us to actually unite more and be able to do what we do in relative security is to start supporting the police again. Yeah. I've had so many people on the show where we're talking about the weird, and it's just happened in the last few years, where it's almost like we've taken our American heroes, our law enforcement, our military, our first responders, and we've turned them into the boogeyman. We've turned them into the bad guys.
Yeah.
And these guys are out there most of the time at night. When we're sleeping, they are out there protecting us from bad guys. And a lot of times we don't see it because it's all happening at night, and we might read about it the next day. But those guys have a braking limit.
Yeah.
And yeah, go ahead.
Well, we're seeing that. And to go back to I guess the foundation of this conversation when it comes down to our law enforcement, it goes across the board. What we have to do is learn to respect again. We have to teach our kids how to respect again. I'd say I'm totally blessed to have been raised when I was raised. And for those who have not heard my story, I was raised in the Deep South, days of KKK, Jim Crow, and segregation. My first experience with white Americans wasn't until I was 16 years old. But I had a community I was so proud to be part of because mom and dad taught us to respect. Those are days in my community was yes, sir, and no, ma'am, no matter what color there was. If somebody was older than you, you respected them. A teacher, we respected teachers. There's no such thing as mouthing off to a teacher. There's no such thing as mouthing off to a policeman. And it wasn't because they might have been smaller or whatever. It's because we respected who they were and what they represented. We've lost that because at the end of the day, we drift away from our Judeo-Christian values, which is what the left purposely has done to us. You take out the idea of even saying God anywhere outside your home, then you're in their mind, you're pushing it too far. You're giving them an unsafe space. Well,
that whole separation of church and state thing.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, we need to fight to stand up for the standards that are important for us and not be intimidated. So the one thing about what's happened the last 2 years for our law enforcement officers is now everybody's realizing what we knew made sense back 2 years ago. You cannot defund the police. You cannot demean men and women doing the things, the hard lifting that we will not do, that we take for granted. You can't do it and get away with it. Well, 2 years later, these defund the police people now saying they didn't say that. I mean, you come to Congress, these Congressmen saying they never said that. You have Minnesota cities now trying to make up they're giving big bonuses to bring these people back. But here's the thing. When someone pays the price, they work hard, and part of what anything we do is respect. No matter what profession you're in, part of it is income, part of it is that we love the act of maybe service, but the biggest piece of is respect. And if you don't feel respected, you're gonna do something else. And we have good teachers leaving the profession because they're not respected because of a union that's shown so much that they're for adults and not for kids. So good teachers are caught up in that. You have good policemen that feel the same way. I have choice. I'll do something else. I'm not gonna walk on my door and pay the price to be disrespected by folks who have no idea what we do. So those are, by the way, our unsung heroes. In my district office, we have a wall of pictures of business owners and policemen, teachers. And at the end of the day, we're going to come out of this. I believe this. I really believe this honestly. Once we're back in control of where our culture is going, we're going to make sure that our kids understand the true unsung heroes of those who do their job every single day, so we can take it for granted. Police officers, teachers, business owners, they do the extra. They're the ones that make things happen. So anyway, we'll get back to that.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know that a lot of people know that your dad actually served in World War II.
Sure did.
And you know, that whole greatest generation, it's my grandfather was right in that age. And I'll tell you what, you know, you backmouth him or his wife, and
oh no,
man, it was coming.
No, the only thing you get worse from backmouthing out these men of that generation is their wives of their generation, or their ladies. You just didn't do it. You didn't do it. And let me say this. That's why I'm saying that I feel so blessed, because I saw firsthand in that environment what it was for men who came back from war, who were proud of who they were, who were patriotic, who taught young people like myself to be proud of that flag. I knew as a youngster, when I had an opportunity, I was chosen. So I was chosen for the opportunity to come to school early, to walk to school early, for the opportunity and honor to raise the flag and then raise it at the end of the day. That was an honor. And we knew then you never let the flag touch the ground. Why? Because the parents, the dads of those times, the principals of those times, the teachers taught us these things. And I'm just so thankful again to have had that. And I'll say this too, Jared, it's because of that upbringing, that remarkable environment I grew up in, those parents I grew up, is why I have such an appreciation for Utah. Utah is a very unique place. And sometimes we raised here, and this is kind of what we know. You don't understand how different we are here. It's a culture that truly teaches our young people how to serve. That's what we do. It's not just here and there. We teach our kids how to serve. We teach our kids how to not be risk adverse by going to places where they're going to take a risk and meet people they don't know and do things they're uncomfortable with. So they come back here, and what they do, they look for solutions. One day they say, you know what? I'm going to take a risk and build my own business. These are things that happen in Utah. And then because we're small enough, we collaborate like no other state in the union, between our state, between our private industry, between our federal, all the pieces that make this work. Because we want our community to grow, we collaborate, we talk. So it's those kind of things that I have come to appreciate. The miracle of all miracles for me, to be honest with you, and I put it at the very top, is that Utah was not a place I ever thought I'd come to. I just knew two people who lived here. Actually, one at the time, that was Todd Christensen. That's all I knew. And here I am, not only here serving and representing Utah, but my 6 kids and 16 grandkids are within 45 minutes. It is truly a miracle. And so I'm all in to make sure that our community stays the way it is, so they can grow here, build their businesses, build their jobs, raise their kids, and generation after generation be able to do the same thing. So for those who are listening, for those who've been here for a while, whose parents have been here and so forth, thank you for holding on to the legacy, because it's been very important for those of us who come here and decide to stay and become Utahns.
Well, you do know that we're kind of trying to keep Utah a secret.
Unfortunately, that ship has sailed.
Yeah, the word is getting out. I'll tell you what.
I know.
We got moving vans coming to Utah. Like, it seems like it's like Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, man, it's just people are flocking here, just
Yeah.
like they are in Florida and Texas, and everybody wants to be free. And we, for the most part, here in Utah, we respect our elders. We respect the police, and it's a safe environment.
Yeah.
And because of that, people want to be here. And
Yeah.
taxes are low. We got our beautiful mountains, and
We balance our budgets. How about
Yeah.
that? Balance our budgets. Isn't that
boy,
amazing?
what a concept, right?
Yeah, we have here a part-time legislators that come here, and for a few months they work hard to get it done with, and they go back and do what they do. That is truly a remarkable thing. And I'll say this, just so you know, what I tell my friends when they come out and visit. I say, listen, guys, I want to warn you up front. You come out to Utah too often, stay too long, you're gonna become a Utahn. That's the way it works. so I did give them a heads up. But I'll say this to that point, just for those who, I realize right now I'm on the Education and Labor Committee, the ranking member for pre-K through 12. Next year, I'm working hard to be part of the Transportation Infrastructure Committee. We haven't had anybody representing us on that committee for 18 years. And we are the fastest growing state for the last 10 years, percentage-wise. We need, and as we figure out how to build our infrastructure, not only the hard infrastructure, but broadband, giving our folks down south, those who run farms and live in the rural areas, to give them the same opportunities for education and business ownership, and not having to travel north to do everything, to be able to take advantage of our inland port as it really a center of our country that could be so important for import and export. So those are things that we can do. And once we figure out how to solve our issues with infrastructure and transportation, we can be a model for the rest of the country. So I'm excited about that. And I think we're actually in the right place to be a benefit for the nation.
Oh, absolutely. I'll tell you, Burgess, I know that you are also not only are you, just finished the primary and you're running, to be reelected, but I know you're also traveling all over the country to help others, other conservative-minded people to get elected as well. So, you talk about Utah, and just for the last couple of minutes that we have, contrast what you see in Utah and kind of the environment of Utah with some of the other areas in the country that you go around to travel and help other candidates.
Well, first of all, we have a beautiful country. Growing up down south, Tallahassee, going to University of Miami, then moving all the way up to north in New York and Pennsylvania. That's kind of been my experience, more or less the East Coast. I have a brother on the West Coast, so I know the beauty of California, even though they have some really crazy, nutty policies out that way. But there's only one place that I think, and matter of fact, I'm going to equate it to a book I read about Israel years ago. Israel is considered the starter nation because they're very entrepreneurial. They wake up every single day figuring out how to make sure they stay safe. And because of that, they think outside the box. Education is very, very important. Love for country is very, very important. People literally coming from the United States back to Israel because they want to be part of that legacy. And I see Utah in that same light. We are the starter state. We're the place of all the country that has within our little compacted, concentrated environment, culture, so much of what America's all about. Again, as I said before, we grow up as a culture okay with taking risk. That's not something that is happening across our country. Matter of fact, you go to the blue states, every single blue state, they're very risk adverse. Every blue state, the reason why they are blue is because they believe in government, not self. They believe that somebody else can take care of those issues and move us forward. And I can get to be wealthy without taking any risk and not failing at all. Well, we're on the other side of that. When you have a business, a culture based on entrepreneurship, based on faith, that's the other piece of this, because we're a very faith-based valley, and that's all faith. We have all denominations, all faiths, and we get along because we believe that's a big piece of being faithful. Give people space, give people their agency. And we do a really good job of that. So you put faith together with the idea of love for country and family. I have to say this, make it a little admission. I have 6 kids, and back on the East Coast, I used to walk around pretty proud of that, put my shoulders out, and 6 kids. When I come here, man, that's no big deal. It's no big deal. So when I run into families with 9 and 10 and whatever, so Anyway,
Yeah, there's some big families out here.
oh, there's some big families, but we love our kids, and that's important, and therefore we don't mind working and sacrificing for them. So I'm saying all that to say that the things, the tenets that make our country great, which I think is faith, family, the free market, and education. There's no state in the union in terms of the concentration of a culture that does it better. And that's why, again, we're no longer secret. And unfortunately, you know, what the old saying, the cat's out of the box or whatever it is, it's you know, people know, and they're gonna come here and feel the same things that we felt when we decided to become Utahns.
Oh, I love it here. You know, I grew up in Idaho, and so we always had kind of this, you know, down south of us, Utah was just, it was kind of more of a rivalry type feeling than it was brotherly love. But now that I've lived here, and you know, obviously my wife's from here, and I've lived here last 12 or 15 years almost, and went to college here, and you know, it's just fantastic. I love it here. But so hey, out of all the congressmen that you work with the closest, who is it that you kind of mirrors everything that Burgess Owens is all about?
Boy, that's a tough one, because I feel, and I'm going to talk about, let's start off with talking about our delegation we have here. We all have different personalities, but what really makes us a great team is because we're able to put those personalities in a way that we respect each other, we get feedback. And so my personality could be enhanced. My message could be enhanced because we have this communication where I can get feedback. I can understand, you know, what other people are thinking, what other talents might be. And so I guess that would be a tough one for me, because I do look at it as a team effort. And I know that I've been I really believe this. Every one of us have been put in place to learn certain things through our history, including our childhood, how we got here, so that this moment we can give something to our country. I feel that way. If I look back at my history and the ups and downs of life, that I can give something to Utah, give something to our country, but it only works because we have such a remarkable delegation that I feel friends, I trust, I get feedback, I get some mentorship, all that. And so I would just, I guess, say it's a team effort as opposed to individuals, because we all have good things we can offer, but together it's nothing like it.
Yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot of people anywhere in the country, not just Utah, but anywhere in the country really, that I know that you work closely with, you know, Senator Tim Scott and some of the others that you've put bills together with. I would say most of them are going to be of the same caliber that I consider you to be. And honestly, I have to tell you, Burgess, it is an absolute honor to have you as our representative. And I tell everybody, I'm like, heck yeah, man. I got Burgess signs all over my yard. And, you're my guy.
Well, and I appreciate that. And I know we have to kind of cut this short. I had to move the camera because my family's coming in. My kids, my grandkids are coming through. And so I figured.
Well, yeah. We'll cut it short then. Well, I'll tell you, man, go go do the grandpa thing, and it's been fantastic having you on, and we'll definitely do it again. You know, there's a lot of issues out there, especially that, like we were talking about, you know, right before we came on. There's so many contributors to the rise in crime right now that have to be addressed, and you know, we're trying to get them just one at a time. So.
Can I leave you with this?
Yes, sir.
Those that are listening. And it's important that we kind of tie this bow in this regard. Obviously, things have been really tough. You know, the last 2 years, particularly COVID, not only are we looking at, you know, job losses, but we lost friends and family. And right now we're dealing with a president that we don't trust. We have doubts in terms of his ability to lead. All that being said, I've never been more excited about our country than I am today. And I want everybody to understand why. Because what we do best is once we understand we have issues, again, I talk about Pearl Harbor, 9/11. Once we come together, we the people start talking, there's nothing more powerful than that. And we as a country is doing that. And it's not just independents and Republicans, and we're all together in dealing with the same misery. And once we do, and we have that in common, we'll come up with some solutions, and we'll come out as smarter, more educated, and more focused on how to do it better as we move forward. So just know that as tough as things are, it's gonna be okay. You know, we're gonna come out of this like we always have, because number one, there's a God who loves this nation, who loves this freedom that we have. He's always looking out for us. We have so many good people who understand that, and we're gonna do our best to be our best. And in that regard, we'll be blessed by the process.
I'm with you. Yeah.
All right.
That's a great place to end this episode and this conversation, but we will certainly have you on again.
I look forward to it, my friend. Absolutely.
Okay. You say hi to your family for me.
Will do. Take care. Do the same, my friend. Take care.
Yes, sir. All right. Talk to you later.
Thanks for joining us. Your attention today brings us one step closer to exposing and eliminating the evil that brings crime to our communities. Hit subscribe and share this episode. Together, we will bring justice to every victim.